Hello, everyone, and welcome to another brand new episode of the Jedi Way here on the Outlaw Nation channel. I'm the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by the better half of this equation, Laura Kelly. Laura, how are you?
I'm doing amazing. I'm so excited to talk about this. I dressed for the occasion. I'm here for it.
I only wore my Han Cholo shirt, so that's as far as I could go. But I like the Star Wars Celebration shirt. And Laura, I know you have you bought tickets, or are you depending on the press battle? How are you focusing on Star Wars Celebration this year in Anaheim, which is happening just a few months from now?
I have a ticket. I think it's 4 days this year. I've got my four
Yes.
day ticket. So I've got flights, I've got a hotel, I've got a ticket, and I have the enthusiasm. So I'm ready.
Is Alice coming with you? Are you guys doing a Force Toast Pod episode live from Celebration, or
um,
are you just going?
TBD that whether or
Yeah,
not she's coming or not. But we did some live stuff last year,
nice.
or I'm sorry, 2019, which was now so long ago. But that was like we had just launched our show, and so
Wow.
people were like, "Do you want to do some live stuff?" And we were like, yes. It was a yeah. We decided to yes and the situation, and it worked out, and it was a
Good.
lot of fun. But yeah, I'm not sure if she's going to be coming this year. What about you? What's your ticket situation at the moment?
I did not get any of the tickets. I'm depending on the press pass, and then from there we'll see if I don't get the press pass what my options might be. I saw that the $900 tickets are already sold out, which is insane. Saturday day of is sold out, so the 4-day tickets are not available even at the 135, 150 mark, whatever they were. So you'll have to buy them separately. It's $75 a pop to be able to be a part of this. But I'm hoping the press pass is enough, or I might shake the tree at some outlets and see if they want coverage, especially if they don't have a local person in LA or around there to cover. I can go under that guise and go there and cover it for them since I'm only an hour away. So driving up there to cover it all day and driving back, that won't be an issue at all because there's not much traffic, I imagine, coming out once the everything is over. But I'm glad it's happening. I know people have been desperate to get back into having a convention and being part of Star Wars Celebration again, and certainly there's a lot to celebrate, Laura. With so much happening now, with Kenobi we're on the cusp of Kenobi. We just finished Book of Boba Fett, the Book of the Mandalorian, rather, season 3 is on the way. The announcements possibly that a new Star Wars movie is in the work here from Damon Lindelof, the writer of Lost and The Leftovers and what have you. So there's possibilities abounding here as we move forward with Star Wars. And certainly the High Republic stuff, the books, the comic books are taking off as well again. And there's video games on the way as well. There's so much happening. Are you now feeling like, as opposed to other years, maybe that there's going to be a preponderance of stuff for you to go and take a look at and see, and you may not get to it all?
I think so. I mean, normally it's like there's maybe three or four like big panels that
Yeah.
I am hell bent on making sure I get into those. And this year I'm like, I don't know how they're going to do it all. I mean, with all of the new like Disney Plus series, I'm like there needs to be more than one like really big stage, I think.
Mhm.
So we'll see how they do. It just seems crazy that it was like Chicago that was the 5-day celebration,
Right.
and this year we're back to just 4 days. I'm like, you guys should have swapped that, but we'll make it work. We're going to make it work. It's going to be great. And it's just going to be a lot of information and probably a lot of news packed into a 4-day period.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And speaking of news, we'll get to some breaking news here in just a second. We are going to talk about Star Wars Celebration and our experiences, and maybe some tips and tricks for you all who are going to be going or thinking of going as we go along through the show. But something happened in Chicago. Is that same thing going to happen this time around in Anaheim? Is Laura Kelly going to be competing at all in yet? Can you say, or is it in the works? What do you know about it, Laura Kelly?
I don't know if I could say, even
Okay,
if I did know, but I don't know.
fair enough.
I don't know if anybody actually knows yet, but I did just get word that there are a couple of people who I've talked to about doing panels who have been approved for those panels. So I
All right.
imagine all of that news is going to start rolling out here soon. So that's a TBD on the Schmodown for now, but maybe they're one of them that just got approved and nobody's told me. I don't know.
Oh, we shall see. We shall see. That's for sure. Looking forward to it. All right. Well, let's get into our show here, Laura. We got some breaking news, as I mentioned earlier. What is that that we're going to be talking about here?
Yeah, so we're when we're recording, we're talking Thursday night on the 23rd,
Yeah.
24th, I'm sorry. And just earlier today, Ashley Eckstein, Ian McDiarmid, and Anthony Daniels were all announced to be attending Star Wars Celebration 2022.
Mhm.
Now, they've all sort of been around the block with Star Wars Celebration. They've all attended in the past. Obviously, last year with Ian McDiarmid was huge with the roll it again announcement that he made when the trailer premiered, which was just the most insane experience of my life,
Yep.
being in that panel. But this is all really exciting. We're starting the guest announcements now. We're probably, I would say, about a month away before we start seeing things like the full schedule and even more guest announcements sort of rolling in. But yeah, it's all starting to gear up. We got like the podcast stage applications are supposed to be coming in soon.
Ooh.
Media applications are supposed to be going in soon. So everything is just kind of starting to get rolling and the excitement is building, and it is just making everything worth living right now for me because I'm that excited.
Oh yeah, I mean Anthony Daniels. He I don't think there's a con he misses, or a Star Wars celebration he likes to miss. He enjoys holding court. He enjoys working a room, and more power to him. And of course, he's the only one who's worked on all 11 feature films. And appeared as C-3PO in all three of the trilogies here. Ian McDiarmid is interesting because, as you said, yeah, we had that moment, but a lot of people feel like he might be popping up in Kenobi in some shape or form. So, do you think that he might be the one introducing some more footage or introducing anything we might be getting in Kenobi here when he comes out or when he presents? Do you think that's a possibility?
I think it would certainly be interesting to get to see him and Ewan and Hayden on stage
Mm,
together. To
mm.
like see that conversation happen would be really fun. I wonder about like him introducing things because I almost wonder if like the way Rise of Skywalker ended up sort of leaving a bad taste in some people's mouth, if they would want people to like all of a sudden be thinking of that and associating with they may not, I don't know. We'll see how they handle it, but I would at least be willing to bet that there'll be maybe something where at least some of them of those three people, appear on stage together.
Yeah, yeah, that would be nice. All three of them talking about it. Who knew all these years later that there would be such a change in that approach to the prequels and space created for this reunion to happen if it does happen on stage. Could maybe Sam Jackson should crash that reunion too with his Mace Windu, which would be a lot of fun.
Yes,
As
it
far
would.
as yeah, as far as Ashley Eckstein, she has been a mainstay in a lot of these cons, not only for her voiceover work but also for her universe, which is now which is basically mostly been a female focused geek clothing and merchandise shop here, and now opening the door to more male stuff as well just recently. So I imagine she's going to have a big presence at this con, don't you think? And people still, as much as they may enjoy Rosario in the role, people still very much identify her with Ahsoka Tano.
They very much do. And there's always a Her Universe booth on the exhibit floor. And I know that at Comic-Con, at San Diego Comic-Con, they always do the big Her Universe fashion show, which is such a
Yes.
fun event to attend. But yeah, she's always a huge presence at any of these things. But I think one of the interesting things that we could potentially see with her would be something related to the Ahsoka show, where maybe she's on stage together with Rosario Dawson, and we
Mm,
maybe get some
ooh,
sort of like cross Ahsoka interaction happening, which is I think that actually might help the case for that show a little bit to see like Ashley Eckstein sort of like really, honing in on that and supporting it and showing any love in that sort of retrospect, I think would probably be really helpful for it, or certainly can't hurt.
yeah,
So that's something that's on my wish list of things I'd like to see.
absolutely. That's an excellent point. I hadn't thought about them coming together to kind of both kind of give the approval of the show, give the blessing to the show, and maybe kind of smooth over some hurt feelings from some fans who felt that Ashley should have done the live action version of Ahsoka Tano, certainly, especially on the heels of Katie Sackhoff doing the live action version of Bo-Katan. So interesting. I hadn't thought of that. So, but I'm sure there'll be more to come here. Laura, as Laura mentioned, it's Thursdays we're recording this. We're going to drop it on a Sunday, but it's Thursday we're recording this. So I'm sure there'll be more announcements over the weekend and certainly in the next few weeks as well. So, all right, well, let's jump into the meat of our conversation here. Laura, where shall we go to first in talking about Star Wars Celebration?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about like our personal convention experiences because this whole convention thing is still sort of new for me.
Oh, for
However,
sure.
the like it's kind of crazy to think about the fact that like 2017 Star Wars Celebration 2017 was the first con that I had ever been to,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
and how different that experience was from 2019. It
Mhm.
was like worlds apart how different that whole thing was for me. But that was my first convention, and then I sort of started regularly attending the Chicago Comic Con here, is called C2E2. It's actually
Mhm.
run by the same event management group as Star Wars Celebration, Reed Pop. So I get lots of exposure to them and their conventions as far as my con going goes. But how about you? What's been your sort of experience in terms of Star Wars Celebration, but also conventions as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, for me, conventions as a whole starts all the way back in the mid 2000s, and I went to San Diego Comic Con my first time, and this was before Twilight, before Harry Potter, before the big explosions, even before Marvel. To be honest with you, when Marvel was still kind of getting its feet out from under, or getting its feet out under it and walking. So I got to see everything I wanted to see calmly. I didn't have to sit in large lines. It was really, it's not that long ago in my mind. It wasn't that long ago. So, I got a bunch of swag, shirts, all kinds of stuff. You stand in line for maybe 5-10 minutes and get all this stuff. It was a great experience, and walking around the convention floor. I'm telling you, there is nothing I look forward to more. And I love panels. I get it. I love that stuff, and seeing people come out and all of that, seeing the presentations and the videos and the trailers and footage. That's all great. But for me, what I really enjoy is walking the floor. I really love walking, taking a whole afternoon and just seeing all the amazing artistry of the people who set up these booths and all the stuff that's available at these booths for people to enjoy. And I think it's really important. If you're going to get a full experience of a con, yes, the panels are great, but I think it's also good to connect with the people who love what they do, and especially something with Star Wars Celebration that's very much focused on Star Wars Celebration. As opposed to Comic Con, you have a bunch of variety of geek franchises to enjoy and sink into. This is very much specifically Star Wars. So going to the different booths and seeing the artistry of all the people involved and what they're selling, what they've made, what they're promoting, all of that I think is an essential part of the experience. And I've always made a point to do that at least one time in between Thursday through Saturday. And then on Sunday, after the panels are done around noon or whatever, I've walked the floor and bought graphic novels, bought stuff, because they usually reduce their prices on Sunday because most people don't stay. They want to get rid of their stock. They don't want to drag all those boxes of stuff back to their houses. So that's where you find the best deals. So I would say getting to savor, getting to enjoy the people there that are selling stuff and they're promoting stuff. That to me has been one of the best things about going to these cons. And I think it's important to do that when you're there. And for D23, that was certainly awesome because I was still kind of knee deep in the Schmodown. And so I was covering it for Geek Nation. And so I was trying to get interviews and all this kind of, at the same time, people were stopping me to take pictures and get interviews with me and do it. And in fact,
Oh,
late to the party, where they were still at the beginning, we ran into each other and had a fun little exchange way back. I think in I don't know, or it's in 2010s, right around the early 2010s there at D23. So those have been my experiences overall. And with Star Wars Celebration, I haven't 100% been to one. I think I went for a day a few years ago and kind of experienced all of that. I think through the schmoes, to be honest with you, and had some fun there. But I haven't been able to sink my teeth into it. So I'm hoping that this is one that I'm going to get to just really enjoy. I don't have to be responsible to any outlet or anything like that. I can go for myself and enjoy and cover the things that I want to cover on my outlet. So that's been my experience overall. What about you?
this was it was 2017. That was my first celebration, and I don't think that I actually even went to the exhibit floor. Like I really had no idea what I was doing, and I was also sort of latecomer in terms of tickets. So when I bought my tickets, I was only able to get tickets for Friday and Saturday. Thursday was like that 40th anniversary panel that was huge and had people camped out around the block for days
Yeah.
ahead of time. And so I missed that. But going on Friday, I believe that was the last Jedi panel. It
Oh,
was when
okay.
we saw like the trailer for the first time. And Ryan Johnson showed up in the middle of the night with pizza for all the people camping out, and it was a big, beautiful experience. But that was like my first night, was that camping out. I think I got there probably 2 or 3 in the morning, knowing that there had been people that had been there like a full day
No.
the day before. But I was still kind of hoping I would get into the panel at that time, and I fortunately was lucky enough to do so. But that was my first one, and that experience of like camping out and hanging out all night with like these people that you inevitably end up making friends with while you're
Yeah.
just sitting passing the time. I mean, that was like my first getting sort of indoctrinated into like the Star Wars fandom and the fandom community. It was like this imprinting experience for me. So that was really cool. But the main thing I was really there for at that time was, of course, Star Wars Rebels. And so I got to go to the next day. I remember getting there early and camping out for that panel. But because that one wasn't quite as much in demand as The Last Jedi, it was I got like a better seat. I was up closer, and I was there when we got to see like the season 4 premiere. I think they showed us the first 2 episodes maybe. And that was also when they announced that season 4 was going to be the last. And it was the most devastating thing to hear, when like my main objective getting there was Star Wars Rebels. But overall it was really fun. The thing is though, was that camping out experience was not the greatest, because it really ruins you for the rest of the day. So when it came to like going to other panels and things like that, I was just like, I will maybe last a few more hours here, and then I have got to go back to the hotel and eat some food and sleep. Which is mostly what I did. So when it came to like after parties and seeing some of those smaller panels and walking the exhibit floor, like I missed that whole part of the experience my first time. And then, quickly learned my lesson and started going to when I started going to the conventions here in Chicago. By the time it got to be 2019 for Star Wars Celebration, I was very much I knew exactly what I needed to do this time around. And that ended up being, I think, a much better experience, though, in part because they stopped doing the overnight camping and started doing the lottery system. So you didn't actually have to stay up all night. You could sleep in that hotel room that you paid money for. And that was, I think, overall, probably a better experience all around for everybody. Have you ever done that overnight camping, or was it kind of before that wasn't really a thing happening back in those old days of San Diego Comic-Con?
Laura, let me tell you something. I am not privileged in many ways, but certainly for Comic-Con, thanks to the Geek Buddy Michael Vogel, I have experienced privilege, because Michael was always sent by the studio that he was working for. And so we always had free tickets. We never paid for our tickets to anything. We had just a badge to go for all 4 days. And he got a suite. So we would each, initially, the first few years, it was free. And then after that, they started to charge him. So we chipped in and paid our, equal share. And the suite would have 2 rooms, and there were anywhere from 4 to 8 of us in the room at one time. And so in that way, I've been especially privileged in that way. And we've known how to get into Hall H without having to stand in the line. It doesn't mean that we didn't in the past. We did in the past but never overnight, right? I think there was maybe 1 year where we got up at 4 in the morning and got in line and what have you. Or maybe there was a year that we took turns sleeping about 2 or 3 hours, and then we didn't get in anyway. But then a friend of ours kind of reached out to us and said, go to the security guard and tell him this, and you'll get into the side door. So those little things, those little tips that, because you have friends, I mean, it's good to have friends in the industry who understand and have some cachet or some power. I've been very fortunate in that way too. So, but what you said about the overnight thing, that is absolutely the truth. And also because you're waiting for that one panel, and once you go on that panel, your emotions are spiked so high through the whole panel, but that by the time you come out of it, when you decompress, you're exhausted from the lack of sleep. Yeah, you crash. And so I've certainly had those days where I've crashed because we've gone to those panels a little early or whatever, and I go back to the hotel. It's definitely a pattern to go back to the hotel for at least an hour, turn on the AC, lie there and try to nap for an hour, then grab some food as you're walking out to go to the next thing, for sure. But yeah, you've got to be very careful about how you handle the overnight stuff. And it is a bear. and you meet some very interesting people, some great people, some cool people, and then every once in a while, some weird people. And that's the whole experience. But yeah, the overnight stuff can be quite taxing on your body. And I'm sure for you who've had, some back issues in the past, I'm sure on a concrete overnight is
Yeah.
not a good thing for you. Yeah.
No, would not have worked out. It definitely wouldn't have worked out. But it did work out in that I didn't actually have to sleep at any point. I
Oh,
just
that's
like
good.
stayed awake and played Trivial Pursuit with some other Star Wars fans hanging out in line for hours, and it worked out. But yeah, thankfully, at least in terms of Star Wars Celebration, those overnights are a thing of the past for the
Yeah.
most part. I think in Chicago they didn't have much of a choice. I mean, it was April in Chicago. It can still be very cold here, and people would have it would have not been a good situation. It snowed during Star Wars Celebration 2019, so
Oh,
it
yeah.
worked out for the best that they swooped in with the lottery system right at the end. And I assume that they'll do the same thing again this year. But I want to back up a little bit and kind of talk to people about how to prepare, because not all of us are getting privileged entrance into our convention experience.
Gotta be honest.
That's reason to keep Vogel around, I gotta say.
No doubt.
But this Star Wars Celebration experience, when it's your first time, can be extremely overwhelming. It can be very overstimulating, even if you're not having to stay up all night and camp all night to get into the big panels. But I think that there's a lot of resources people can go to prepare, and beyond just like the Star Wars Celebration emails and Twitter account. I mean, there are like tons of Facebook groups that are related to Star Wars Celebration tips and tricks. And there's probably entire Reddit threads that are related to too. So my first time when I went, even though I really didn't know what I was doing and it was kind of a last minute decision, I used those resources and they were super helpful. So that's one of the things I always recommend to people if it's your first convention, or even if it's just a lot of people, it's been a while since we've been through this whole dog and pony show. So it wouldn't hurt to maybe hit up some of those groups and just kind of refresh what the experience is going to be like. And that was the other thing that kind of came to my mind first when I first started, thinking about this, was all of the walking and all of the being on your feet that you have to do, because it's not just during the day. When you're out, at the panels that generally start at about 11 a.m., the party does not stop at Star Wars Celebration. There are so many like events happening in the evening that are part of the official thing and part of the unofficial stuff. And it's all a lot of fun, but it just is a lot. And if you're not used to being on your feet all day, if you're sitting behind a desk working your corporate 9 to 5, start going on walks now. Start getting yourself like prepared, because it's a lot. It's a lot of walking.
It is, especially if you want to do what you're doing. You're right. The walking is essential, and you're very correct on the advice. And don't be hesitant to DM some of these websites or some of these accounts and ask for advice. Most of them usually keep their DMs open because of that situation and will respond to you, or they'll suggest an email for you to email, and you'll get a response that'll give you some tips and some resources for you to help out, because everyone wants to help everyone have the best con experience that they can. And certainly helping other people do that is a good thing to do in the world. And so people are more than willing to be there for you if you need it. So that's a great point. Certainly at Comic-Con, there's a number of those for Comic-Con every single time, so you can get some good information. And sometimes it's the official account giving you some information that you need. Yeah.
Yeah, and the situation of social media, you're welcome to DM me, and I will give you all the information you need. It was really nice though when it was in Chicago, and I could actually like advise people of like, all right, well, here's how you get from O'Hare to McCormick Place, like, and here's great restaurants to go to. I don't have that information for Anaheim, so I'm a little bit at a loss too as to how I'm going to get from LAX to my hotel. I imagine it's going to be expensive, but that's a problem for future Laura. Present Laura doesn't care. But in terms of the other sort of things that you need to kind of think about in terms of planning are the schedule and like the map that they put out that has the exhibit floor, because it's very easy, I think, to get overwhelmed when you talk about wanting to like walk the whole exhibit floor. John, I can see how that's like a really, really fun component of any convention. But something like Comic-Con, it's hard to imagine being able to actually hit the entire floor because it is massive. I mean, even like Chicago's Comic-Con is massive, and the Star Wars Celebration exhibit floor isn't quite as overwhelming, but it's still a lot. So look, they'll put out a map of like all of the booths, and you'll be able to actually look up like, all right, where's Del Rey if I want to go get an autograph from one of the authors? where do I go? What time can I be there? All of that information will be out there about a month or so before the actual convention. So that's
Yeah.
something to keep an eye out for. And to save offline on your phone, because at any point you could just not have service in a convention center. And that kind of information is really handy to be able to pull up without having to use the internet.
That's a great point. Yeah. Definitely have a Mophie or whatever. You definitely have extra batteries for your phone. You never know what's going to drain it. If you can figure out how to be able to have internet the whole time, that's really important because all those phones at the same time can be quite overwhelming. But you're right about that. I mean, you want to be understanding of where what you need to use in those moments and what you need to be able to use in those moments as well to help you get around and help you navigate it all. And I'm sure you're right. I mean, I've walked an entire convention floor. Usually that's on a Thursday. It's a much more relaxed on the Thursday than on a Friday or Saturday. That could be quite hairy, but it does take a lot of time. And I imagine the Star Wars Celebration one, especially because you're going to stop a lot and you're going to really want to savor what they've got. And that's going to be part of it as well. And you got to be aware. I mean, you got to hear your notes, Laura. Another part of this, the map. The map is really important as well. Being aware of really familiarizing yourself where everything is and where you need to go. That is super, super important.
Yeah. In terms of the planning phase, having that and like having your schedule in mind of like, here are all the things that I'm hoping to hit. And then having that being ready for all of that to go to shit and having a backup plan, because that's inevitably what's going to happen. Some panel you desperately want to go to is going to be at capacity. Know that there is an overflow room probably that you can probably get into. So it's important to sort of, know your way around where all of that stuff is going to be and know when things are happening. So the convention app is going to be your best friend when eventually that comes out. Definitely worth downloading. And there's offline components of that too that are really convenient. But in terms of, other things to bring, you mentioned portable phone chargers. You will see the poor, sad people sitting in the corner charging their phones next to an outlet, and you're going to feel bad, but you're going to feel superior because you have your mobile charger with you. So that's 100% should be on the list. You have 2 months to save up for a really, really good quality one. Yeah. Do it. Poster tube is the other thing that needs to be on the list. And this is a thing that nobody told me my first year at Star Wars Celebration. You walk into any of these big panels, there's a good chance they're going to hand you a free poster. And even if you're not like really into like collecting these posters and then framing them and putting them up in your man cave, like you can sell them on eBay to people who didn't get to go to Celebration but want to pretend like they did. It is possible. So it's definitely worth bringing a poster tube and being able to wrap them up and keep them safe so they don't get damaged in transit. That was a tip nobody told me about my first year. I had to go with the second year to get that. And everybody failed me in that aspect. And I'm going to not fail all of you all watching. Bring a poster tube.
I never have brought a poster tube. That's an excellent, excellent tip. I've just always been like, well, do I want it? Do I not want it? I never thought about selling it on eBay. Damn it. But Laura, I've lost out on so much money not having met you earlier. Damn it. That's such a great idea. Especially if you can lug it around and it's a good size, you can get one of those that are straps. You can that way it's not necessarily occupying your hands. That's a smart way to go for sure. Absolutely. And then just keep putting stuff in there. And Laura's right. You never know what you can sell on eBay for sure. And don't forget, they're always handing out little trinkets as well, T-shirts or little, pins or whatever. Be aware of all of that stuff and have a place to put all of that stuff in your bag or if you want to carry a knapsack. It's your decision there. All of that is absolutely in play. But what if you start to slow down, Laura, and you want snacks or you want to get
You know what I'm not going to recommend is eating all of the garbage convention hall food. You don't want to do that because number one, it's all junk food. It's all garbage. It's horrible quality and it's really expensive. So bring snacks when you get I think what Alice and I did when we got to, because we ended up having a hotel room in Chicago, even though we live here, whatever, don't worry about it. But we ended up having an Amazon delivery, bring us a bunch of snacks and stuff so that we were just prepared. And we had stuff in the room and we could just put some granola bars and protein bars and things in our bag before we went out down to the show floor. And that kind of thing will save you a lot of money because these conventions are very expensive to go to. We all have to fly in over Memorial Day weekend. That's going to be an expensive weekend to fly. Save yourself the money of not having to buy a $12 nasty hot dog on the convention floor and just bring some like healthy nuts or something.
Yeah,
But also,
yeah.
yeah,
No,
the
no, go.
refillable water bottle is the other one that's necessary, 100%.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, 100%. Another part of this is, and Laura's right. I mean, look, having been to many conventions, I do love a soft pretzel, but after the fourth day of a soft pretzel, like you've really made some mistakes here, and so you got to be aware of how much bready product is around during the and the bready product will slow you down. It doesn't give you energy, so you want to be aware of how to monitor your diet because you're probably going to be moving around for a more consistent amount of time than you've ever moved around over 4 day period, or even maybe even a 1 day period if you're only going for 1 day, because you want to get everything in. So you want to make sure you supplement your food with some healthy snacks, with some snacks that's got protein or it's got some energy access to it. It's going to be important, and the water bottles are so important because Coke will slow you down. The sugary drinks will slow you down. That's most. They do have water there, but like as Laura said, it's gonna be like $8 for a water bottle. It's not cheap at all. It's not even the big one. It's not even the big one. So you're going to be in some troubles there. And they should have water fountains. If you want to trust the tap water, you can do that. I've seen people fill it in from the sink in the bathrooms. Well, all right, do your thing. But certainly water is essential because you will get dehydrated for if you eat that food and you drink those drinks, you will get dehydrated. You will crash even more so throughout the day. Yeah.
Yeah. That covers, I think, in terms of things to bring. Do you have anything else you would add to that list? I think we hit the high points.
Yeah. I mean, bring a shirt. I think I always bring an extra shirt just in case. You never know. Some of you may want to bring extra socks or whatever that's your choice. You have your comfortable shoes. Absolutely. Be really aware of the shoes you're wearing. I know some people like to cosplay and they wear those big old thick old boots. That's not gonna it's only gonna last you so long, and it's an incredible amount of pain later on. So you want to be very as comfortable as you can be, as comfortable as you can be. And where I would suggest where, for some of you may be sensitive about your body type, wear a little bit looser clothing so you're more relaxed as you're going through the day and you're consuming and what have you. I think it's good to have that so you have a little bit of space, a little bit of room, you're not so conscious. I think that's really important as well overall. And bring reading material just in case. I know you may be going with some friends or whatever, but after 6 hours of talking about stuff, you might get a little exhausted and you just want to kind of shut that mouth of yours for a little bit and detox and read. I think bringing a book or bringing some magazines, whatever it is that floats your boat, that's also really, really important to kind of take your mind off things and have you escape at least for a little bit. So just a suggestion, throwing it out there. So yeah.
Exactly. In any convention, they always have like decompression areas. There'll be dark rooms where you can just go and sit and not talk to anyone. I think for a lot of people, those are very necessary. And so that's definitely something to keep in mind. If you're worried about being socially exhausted and overwhelmed at any point, there are lots of places to escape to, I think.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the other like important locations at Star Wars Celebration. So probably the biggest one that's worth talking about is the Celebration stage, and then the Galaxy stage. Sometimes they're used interchangeably, or the names are reversed, but usually the biggest stage at every celebration is the Celebration stage. So that's where like The Last Jedi, the Rise of Skywalker, The Force Awakens, that's where these big panels when these movies were coming out were being hosted, and they've got all the the biggest high profile guests and topics, and it's always a lot of fun, but they definitely are the hardest to get into. And that's why we now have the lottery system. So last year 2019, good Lord, they introduced Lightspeed, and that's the app that's sort of within the Star Wars Celebration app that sort of helps everybody, try to get a reservation. Not everyone's going to get one. When I didn't get the reservations that I wanted, I was absolutely devastated. I'm looking forward to that not really being the case this year, because now my priority is a lot more like, I want to just be there to see my friends.
Yeah.
I also want to get into some of these panels, but it's not quite the number one priority for me that it always was. But yeah, that virtual queue system, man, that thing is a lifesaver compared to what we all used to go through at these conventions in terms of the camping out and people trying to do it in like cosplay, you guys, like, ugh. You can imagine the discomfort and for a lot of people, the smell. So in terms of other things to bring, maybe add deodorant to that list. It definitely couldn't hurt to reapply halfway through the day. I'm not just talking to cosplayers too. It's everybody, everyone. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, get a little mini one, bring it with you, and
Yeah,
just
because
sneak off to that.
you may take on the stink of other people. That's if you're
Yep.
around them long enough, you take it on, then you've got to be aware that you're the one spreading that smell around. So definitely deodorant or some kind of spray deodorant. Although a lot of people don't like to use it, but some kind of deodorant is Laura's absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of those big panels, the nice thing about them is that a lot of them are live streamed to some of the other big
True.
stages and the other big rooms and the exhibit floor. So it always seems like there's like a really big, excited, fun group on the exhibit floor for these big panels. And unfortunately, they won't show all of the footage
Right.
from those bigger panels. Some of it's just exclusive to the people that actually made it into the room. But for the most part, they'll stream all of that important stuff out to everybody. And it's always fun to watch it later because you can see people reacting in really big ways when they're out on the exhibit floor, and it's so much fun.
Yeah.
But I want to talk a little bit about like some of the smaller stages too, because that's
Yeah.
where you're going to have like, there's a podcast stage where all of your favorite Star Wars podcasters are right now applying to try and be one of those people that gets a podcast stage spot. There's the fan stage, a collector's stage, and then the behind the scenes stage is sort of one of the smaller stages that comes every year to Star Wars Celebration. You'll see some of the smaller panels taking place in there, but some of them will still get a big draw and big names. So they tend to fill up a little bit more quickly. And those are kind of the rooms that you have to keep an eye out for and make sure you're sort of planning out your day. If you want to get into a specific panel there, it's one of those you might head up there a little bit early and make sure
Mhm.
that you can actually get in there.
Yeah, no, I think it's really, really important. And certainly, I mean, it's nice to have that. I hadn't even heard about a podcast stage. So that's pretty awesome. I've never even experienced that. So that's going to be cool to see this time around and see all the different podcasts and what have you. Now that you mentioned that, I should put in something and see what happens, see what how the response is overall. But yeah, it's great to have these areas that you can go and explore and have some experiences, really kind of get more and more engrossed in the Star Wars, and then see if there are shows or podcasts or people, personalities that you want to listen to, who you enjoy or you didn't even know had one, and kind of explore that as well. All of that is great for sure.
Yeah. There will be a full schedule of everything that's posted in probably late April, but I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we can expect
Mm,
from this Star Wars celebration in terms of actual, panel topics. Um, Most of the panels start at 11, like the one big panel that kind of happens every day usually happens at 11 a.m. The latest panels in the day will probably start at like 7 p.m. So again, it's a long day. With the exception of Sunday, tends to be a little bit shorter, or whatever the last day of it is. But this year, I think we can kind of expect what we normally expect, which is, panels focused on films and the Disney Plus series, video games, books, comics, collecting, costumes. But there are also panels for like props and art and music and droid building. I mean, the list is endless. There will
yeah.
be so much to see. And I think obviously the one that we know for sure is happening because we've already seen a lot of the artwork for it in the celebration merchandise is the 20th anniversary panel of
Mhm.
Attack of the Clones. And
Yeah.
I think that there are going to be a lot of prequel fans that are very excited about this.
Yeah, people are reappreciating the prequels more and more, and certainly, the Attack of the Clones has been one of those films that has taken a fair amount of criticism in the past, but the defenders have come out even more strongly lately. So that could be a lot of fun to see who shows up for that panel and who they have representing that movie in that panel. Because I got a feeling you're going to show up and get a lot of love from the fans in the room for sure.
Well, and that's the thing about Star Wars Celebration is that if somebody isn't a fan of the prequels, they're not going to be in that panel. So
Yeah,
people who are like worried having these like negative interactions, like toxic Star Wars fans, it's like, everything is so compartmentalized in terms of like the different topics people want to pursue. It's like
yeah,
you're not going to find Attack of the Clones haters in the Attack of the Clones panel. You're going to be surrounded by lots of people who absolutely love that movie for
yeah.
whatever it is. So it's going to be a really fun one. I think for sure. But would it not be the coolest thing ever if like Natalie Portman showed up?
It would. I mean, it depends on, Thor: Love and Thunder, which they just went into
Oh yeah.
reshoot, but she should be done by that time. So yeah, it could be interesting to have her show up. Certainly, I mean, why should Hayden get all the love for God's sakes? Give a little love to Padme, a little love to Natalie. So could be interesting to see her show up for this one for sure. especially because of what
Yeah.
happened and what she wears in that in Attack of the Clones as well. Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
homage to Leia. Yeah,
Padme with all of the amazing costumes. It's not fair.
yeah,
I don't think that she went to the I mean, it was the 20th anniversary of The Phantom Menace back in 2019, and I don't think that she was there for that, but
yeah,
I don't remember who all came and who didn't for that one.
yeah.
But I think the Attack of the Clones is gonna be a big one and it'll be fun. So we know for sure that that is happening. I think it's probably a safe assumption that Kenobi will have its own panel, The Mandalorian season 3, Ahsoka, Andor is supposed to be coming out sometime in the fall. More than likely, it would have its own panel. I think that one's probably the most likely that we would actually get to see some content maybe from that one.
Hmm.
A Star Wars Celebration tends to have like, the premiere of the first episode at these conventions every once in a while, and so I wonder if maybe that's maybe the most likely candidate that we might get that. A lot of times it's an animated series, but I like to think that maybe we might get something for Andor at this upcoming celebration. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, why wouldn't we? And like you said, it's coming out in the fall, so it would be perfect to see some footage, some trailer, something like that, accompanied with everyone involved in it. Diego being there as well, and that would be a lot of fun. And certainly, that would be great to see. Over and who knows? I mean, and didn't they already greenlight a season 2? So that could
Yeah.
be teased as well in some way. Like, oh, who else? We might get um um Alan Tudyk coming out and saying, "Well, now I'm back in season 2," and blah blah blah. So certainly a lot of possibilities for Andor, but it would be fun to see. And I would be incredibly excited if they showed an episode. For God's sakes, that would be such a great gift for anybody who's there.
Exactly. And if the Bad Batch hasn't come out by then, I
Yeah,
would think that that's probably on the table too, that we might get like the first episode of season 2 of the Bad Batch or something. But I mean,
yeah,
2015, they did the first episode of season 2 of Rebels. That was an advanced screening. 2017, we got the first episode of season 4. So these things have tend to drop at Star Wars Celebration, and it's great fun.
yeah.
I will say that whenever they do, if you haven't been to one of these celebrations before, if whenever they play a trailer, they always play it twice
Yes.
because everybody is shouting through the first the first play and reacting very loudly, and it's the second one where everybody shuts the f up and they actually get to hear
Sure.
everything that's happening. But
Everyone
just
doing
know that it's always twice.
everyone doing their own trailer reaction in their seat. Yeah, you're absolutely right about
Yes.
that.
Yeah, they've all got the cameras up. It's crazy. YouTubers.
Oh, YouTubers.
But yeah, I think we can also look forward to like reunion panels. You might get something like a Star Wars Rebels, Star Wars Resistance, the Clone
Yeah.
Wars. You might get reunion panels of these. So we'd get some of the cast that would come in and get to sort of reminisce. And those are really fun too, because we had a Rebels reunion in 2019 and it was so joyous.
Mm.
So if you were a fan of these shows, look forward to that kind of stuff because it's those, you get to be surrounded by all the fans again, and
Yeah.
it's that's your community, and it's just a beautiful experience. So hopefully that those come back as well.
Yeah, and I wonder, Laura, it just occurs to me now because I remember way back when you talk about the 40th anniversary one a few minutes ago. I remember being at Hyper RPG and we watched it live, and they had a camera on us as we were watching it live. And I remember watching that whole panel. And so I wonder if they're going to offer that to people to watch the panels on YouTube, or if you pay a certain amount, like DC Fandom, where you get to watch all the panels or however many panels as you want. And I wonder, and you won't get the footage obviously, but I wonder if they're going to have that at this Star Wars celebration, especially because so many people may not be able to go, and for COVID issues or their own issues about being around people and the fear of COVID. I wonder if they'll make that some of these panels available or accessible for a certain fee or for free on YouTube or on a streaming site. I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, if you have if you already have a ticket, I would think that at least it's made available to you. Because I know a
Yeah.
lot of people who like didn't want to camp out in 2017 because that was the only way you were going to get into those.
Mhm.
And so a lot of them did just stay comfortable in their hotel rooms and order room
Yes.
service and watch it that way. And good for them because I did not do that and I regret it a little bit. Um, there, there will be lots of like actor and character central panels. I think, Anthony Daniels, we talked about how he comes to all of these events. He does a C3PO panel every year at Star Wars Celebration. There will probably be panels focused around like Mark Hamill. Billy D. Williams, I think, does one every year. I would think there'll probably be an Ian McDiarmid one if he's going to be there. So a lot of times they do like these, career retrospectives, but then there's sort of an emphasis on the Star Wars component of everything.
Yeah. That'll be fun to see.
Yeah. David W. Collins is another one that I really want to get to this year. He does a panel every year on music in Star Wars. And every year I hear that it's amazing, and I have not been yet. So that's number one on my list. Hopefully it doesn't conflict with something else I'm trying to get to, but I really would like to get to, because he analyzes the different like components of different parts of the score and like what it could possibly hint at in future stories. It's just very cool from what I understand. So I would like to hit that one up. If you're really into like the art and design of Star Wars, Doug Chang from Lucasfilm does a panel every year on designing original characters and planets and ships and all kinds of fun stuff. Yeah. And then Pablo Hidalgo always hosts a panel called the Secrets of the Star Wars Cantina. You would think you wouldn't be able to do this year after year because you'd think you'd run out of stuff to talk about within the cantina, but you don't. They've been doing it, I think, since 2015, if not longer, farther back. And apparently it's always a really fun one to hit. And I've not been to that one either. And
Pablo's never short on opinions. So that's one that's almost like the Kevin Smith one at Comic-Con. You have to go to the Kevin Smith show because it's so great to hear his stories. And he's just standing up there telling a story. That's it, in front of a crowded room and a big room, by the way. That's pretty much it. So Pablo, the same kind of thing here going on, and it totally works and people love it for sure.
Exactly. So there's I think the only other thing I wanted to mention was basically that, there's this other huge component of Star Wars Celebration that I'm not totally familiar with, and that's the like autograph and photos and photo ops and things like that people do with all of the special guests that come in. I know that you have to book them ahead of time. I know that they can be very expensive. It's not something that's like my jam, so I've never personally done it, but I know that people always seem to have really good experiences. And Hayden Christensen was just here in Chicago at our Comic-Con, and my friend went and did a photo op with him, and he said he was like the nicest, chillest dude. And I think that that's a real common experience with a lot of people. So it's definitely worth doing if that's your jam. And I know that a lot of people who are, when they are really expensive, they'll get like groups to get in on it and split it. Yeah. So if it's something that you're interested in and you don't want to pay the full cost for it, put the feelers out there however you can to see if other people are willing to get into your group. And that way you can, still get the photo, but save on the money.
Yeah. And those are great. Those are fun photos always. And they're doing like weird things. And it's a great way to kind of memorialize you being there for sure. And yeah, I don't think I've ever stood in line for an autograph. I just kind of see the lines, and it's always an interesting situation. And you're right. It can be quite expensive. So financially prepare for that. I guess we haven't even mentioned that. That's another thing we should mention before we go. Start saving now. Start putting money aside now. If you haven't already started doing that, it's really important for you to do so because you never know what can happen. You never know what situation you might find yourself in. I would even recommend starting a new bank account so you have months to get all the stuff squared away and keeping only the money you need specifically in that bank account in case you get pickpocketed. That happens, as beautiful and great a celebration as it is. There are people who go there to take advantage of the situation, or maybe are not the most morally correct people, and they will take advantage because you can get distracted, you can get frazzled, you can be, handling 3 bags at once, and all of a sudden your wallet falls out, or your wallet is seen. Someone goes right by and takes it. So you want to be aware of that, so that you're not losing, all your bank account, or you're not putting that in danger. I think it's smart to have a separate bank account, separate card. It's only got a certain amount. So if you lose that, you lose that, but you've got your actual full bank account available to you in case you need it. So I would absolutely recommend that for people. And you know what? You have that bank account consistently for conventions if you're going to conventions, and that way you can be aware of how much you're spending throughout it, and only lose so much if something bad happens to you in that way. So
that separate bank account is an amazing tip. It really is, because I actually have that set up, but mine's just for like travel in general, and it works out very well. Highly recommend. Yeah. But I think in terms of like, I think in like terms of all of the big tips that I have to offer, that's kind of all I have. Do you have any kind of final thoughts? Anything else that we didn't mention that you think that's worth bringing up?
I don't know how close hotels are to the convention because I've never been to the one in Anaheim. But I know at Comic-Con, they're a hop, skip, and a jump away. It's not that far. And sometimes those bathrooms can get quite crazy. We're all human beings. We all got things to do that we need to do. And I would recommend you scoping out some of those bathrooms in certain hotels. They're not usually stringent about first floor bathrooms. So you can kind of sneak in there and do what you need to do in case there's a line or whatever. So kind of scope that out a little bit and be aware of where you could go if you need to go, if the the bathroom line is a bit too long. And listen, if you're going to be drinking water, as Laura and I suggest, you're going to want to pee a lot, so you've got to be aware of what the situation is and the timing of all of that. And sometimes the pee can come on pretty quick, so you've got to be aware of where to go so you're not freaking out and pissing in a trash can. So it's important that you be aware of all those kinds of situations for yourself. So I would throw that in as well. And always be aware of where you can grab a quick bite or a quick little snack for yourself. Any convenience stores around the area that you can walk to. I mean, Comic-Con is very easy to navigate because it's right in the Gaslamp District and there's all kinds of stuff right around there. I don't know if the Anaheim Convention Center has the same kind of proximity to a street full of food or fast food or convenience stores like 7-Elevens or whatever for you to grab stuff quickly and head on back to the convention center within minutes. So just kind of scope that out. I think that's really important for yourself to be aware of where everything is in your surroundings for sure. And the other thing is the Uber situation. Create space for the Uber situation if you need it, because it's going to be a lot and a lot of people are going to be using it. So just be aware of that if you're going to be doing that. And the other last thing I think I would say is a change of clothes. As I mentioned, the shirt. Weather can change in California all the time. Cold in the morning, hot as shit throughout the day. Just be aware of that. So always, just in case, if you're walking back, you can change clothes in the bathroom to like the shorts or to a short shirt or whatever, short sleeve shirt, and that will help you on your walk back to your hotel if you're going for a long extended walk back to the hotel. So have that available as well, tucked away somewhere in that backpack or bag of yours. Just a suggestion.
Excellent tip. The last thing I want to reiterate is that Star Wars Celebration is a really positive place. Whatever you think of the Star Wars fandom and however toxic it can be on social media, Star Wars Celebration is not that. It's an extremely positive place, and it's you'd be surprised. I think a lot of people are surprised when they show up and they assume that it's going to be what they see on social media. You assume you're going to run into those people in real life. Even if you do, you probably won't know it. Those people aren't saying those things out loud to other people. They're saying it cowardly behind their keyboard. But I just, is negative as Star Wars fandom can sometimes be, that's just not at all what Celebration is. So if you have any, reservations about what the experience is going to be like for you, if it's your first time going, I don't think that you're going to see that. I haven't. And I don't think that I don't anticipate seeing it this year either. I don't know why it would be any different.
Yeah, I think any fandom is different online than when it is in person. And when you go, I mean, I've had that experience myself in a small degree with the Schmodown. The fandom online is completely, or on social media or on Facebook, on YouTube, is completely different than the fandom you get in person. It's a whole nother experience because people are there to celebrate the thing they're there for, because they paid very good money to be there and worked hard to be there. So they want to enjoy it and celebrate it and support it. So you're going to be around a lot of like-minded people who are wanting to have the best experience possible. And be careful yourself. And I say this clearly to anybody who's watching this. Be careful you don't become the negative Nancy in the room. Be careful of that. Monitor yourself and see what's going on with you so you make sure you're having the best experience you can have as well. As Laura mentioned, those rooms they've set aside for you to go and decompress, do not be ashamed to take advantage of that. It can be quite necessary and help you overall, because you don't want to be the turd in the punch bowl in those situations. You want to very much enjoy yourself. So let's throw that out there as well. But all right, well, there you go. That's our tips here, our suggestions for Star Wars Celebration. Certainly we'll be back with another episode later on down the road once the panels are all announced, and Laura and I will talk about which ones we're looking forward to, which ones look like awesome, and maybe even map out some plans, some preliminary plans and suggestions for you all to kind of map out your day depending on timing and depending on the location of all the rooms and what have you. All of that is it will be in play once we get that information down the road. But I think you guys have, thanks to Laura and her incredible tips here, having been to 2 Star Wars celebrations, I think you guys are armed with a lot of information now if you are coming to Anaheim for this year's Star Wars celebration for sure. Don't you think, Laura?
I think so. I hope so. I hope this was helpful. I know that when we did it for Chicago, the tips and tricks Alice and I did, it was really helpful since we were locals, and I can't be helpful in that situation here. So I'm just trying to do the best that I can and provide the information that I can. But please always feel free to reach out to me on social media, because I'm happy and willing to share any other tips and tricks, anything we didn't talk about here.
Yeah.
Definitely don't hesitate to reach out, because I'm here for that.
I'll do some legwork myself around Anaheim and maybe drive around the convention center. Maybe take a Saturday, just kind of drive around there and see what's close, what's not close, see what's available to you all, so that when we do our panels discussion, I can have some supplementary tips for some of you that may be coming here who've never been to California or never been to Anaheim, about what's close to the convention floor, what's close to the convention area that you all can take advantage of for sure. So yeah, that won't cost me too much on a Saturday afternoon. Why not? All right, well, there we go. Let's get on out of here. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Jedi Way. We appreciate it madly. Laura, another fun episode. Where can they find you and everything you got going on?
Sure, come find me on Twitter at shutup_Laura. It's the same handle on Instagram. And the show that I host with my friend Alice is called Force Toast, a Star Wars Happy Hour. We drop new episodes usually on Tuesdays. We will have a new one coming out this Tuesday, March 29th. So stay tuned for that.
Nice. As for me, you can follow me at the Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Twitch, it's the Outlaw Nation, all one word. Remember to subscribe to the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button. We're trying to get to 25,000 subscribers as soon as possible. We're so close to 22,000. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do us a favor and subscribe down below and hit that bell button. Also hit a like on this video and leave a comment down below. Likes and comments elevate the visibility, and you never know, it could shoot this show over to the side there for people who are watching Star Wars shows, and they'll suggest Jedi Way, and they'll come aboard the train and have some fun with us here on the Jedi Way as well. All right, well, much love to you all. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Good luck to those of you who are going to Star Wars Celebration. We're looking forward to having a great time, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of the Jedi Way. And before we go, Laura, what do we have to tell them?
Until next time, remember, your focus determines your reality.